Welcome to Dallas, the home of the killers. Welcome to Dallas, sharks and gorillas. The girls, they going harder than Welcome to Dallas, we lost some legends.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Welcome back to the Poofy Man podcast. Boy, do we have one for you today. That's right. One that could, if it's true, turn out to be quite incendiary. So let's just jump right into it. So a few weeks back, a grand jury in Montgomery, Alabama, found the Southern Poverty Law Center to be, well, at least indictable on 11 counts, referring to 11 counts of relative wire fraud, bank fraud, and money laundering. So it's 11 counts by grand jury, something that's not a good look. And for anybody who's not familiar with the SPLC, they are the preeminent nonprofit organization that deals with civil rights liberties and legally uses their pro bono law team to help represent victims of racism and race crimes and hate crimes and things like that in the court of law. And they've been doing so since August of 1971. So up to this point, they have a pretty sterling reputation. They've done some good work. They gained some notoriety in the early 80s, filing a litany of lawsuits and civil suits against former KKK members in money damages for their alleged crimes, with some success, which obviously gave their organization the publicity they needed to grow, and they've done so. However, if these allegations are true, and these charges were brought by the Department of Justice, again earlier this month, and here's some of the fundamentals of this of these charges. So essentially, because it's a nonprofit, their money flow is obviously from friendly donations, right? And so their donor group pays them handsomely every year, to fight the good fight, and with no idea really of how that money is actually being used. And in this case, according to the DOJ, they were misappropriating up to $4.1 million in donor funds to pay informants within these hate groups that they were investigating. A couple of them are just like the KKK, neo-Nazis, the Aryan Brotherhood, I want to say it's like the National... I'll have to look into the other ones. There's a couple other ones, but those are the big ones. And the only problem with that is that it looks like they were funding the same hate groups that they claim to be fighting, because some of that money apparently, or according to this, was being used to fund cross burnings and things like that. So if it's true, it's a pretty bad look. Now, on top of that, there's also at least one member of the SPLC that was found out to be in a romantic sexual relationship with one of these bastards in these hate groups. Ooh la la. So that's a conflict of interest. Talk about taboo. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a crime taking place just because someone happened. Love is blind, folks. Love is blind. Really blind. But that also does not necessarily reinforce the idea and doesn't validate the claims that they were misappropriating funds, at least not on purpose. They weren't deliberately misleading their donors. However, it does beg the question, like, what were they doing, and additionally, why were they adding fictitious bank accounts and seemingly multiple layers of protection against it being exposed, much like a money laundering operation would? Well, I don't know the answer to that, but that is what's in the allegation file. But on the other side, none of this stuff seems to be new. So since 1971, the Southern Poverty Law Center has used paid informants to infiltrate some of these hate groups and have uncovered some helpful bits of information, and of which they've passed on to law enforcement agencies. In turn, I'm sure has turned into some amount of arrests. I'm not sure what we could attribute it to, or how many we could attribute to that to, but or attributed to that. But yeah, so there's that. And then I was a little concerned about the fact that there was this random, not random, of course, but nonprofit that was acting on behalf of law enforcement, seemingly conducting, like, dark level ops operations in infiltrating these groups. Like, isn't that the police's prerogative? As it turns out, though, it's not illegal. There's nothing particularly illegal about them operating in this fashion, so long as they have the oversight of the DOJ, which they've had since 1971 to, some touted success. And as long as the oversight committee of the DOJ is aware of what's going on, blah, 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 which I'm not so sure they were as far as this $4.1 million was concerned. So, anyways, this is a case that is pretty, right now it seems to be kind of on a low burner kind of thing. And I think it's probably because, it's an ongoing case, and so there'll be more to come out on it soon. Of course, the SPLC denies all these allegations. They say that they were operating as per usual and that they do not fund, hate groups in America. I don't know how much of I hope they have a better defense than that. But either way, yeah, it's a big deal, though, because, the Southern Poverty Law Center is the epicenter. It's the data house for anyone looking to use statistics or, material evidence in the case against certain race-based hate groups and things like that. They are kind of like the mothership for it. And so, that leads me to go, well, they would definitely be a prime target for some type of trumped up charges if the Trump administration were looking to do that. But so far, there's not, that is that's part of their defense kind of response to it, of course. Not surprising, but, and maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that kind of shakes itself out. But the allegations themselves are pretty fiery. They're pretty serious. If they are found guilty, let's just say worst case scenario, they're found guilty of all 11 alleged crimes. It really tarnishes their entire history all the way back down to inception. They stand to lose all their grant money, and they're going to have to repay their donors and all this other stuff. Yeah, so it is one that's one to look out for sure. Keep your head on a swivel for it, because I feel like this case is going to heat up over the next few weeks. If you haven't heard about it already, you have now. So as always, take a look into it. Let me know what you think. You can drop your comments down there, right around here. Drop your comments. Let me know if I missed something. This is just a basic overview because that's really all they're detailing right now until this case kind of kicks off in full gear. But yeah, let me know what you think. Yeah, if they are true, it's not a good look, but it's really hard to tell at this point, as it is just always hard to tell what's going on out there. So Anyways, that's what I'm here for. I'm going to dig down to the nitty gritty and find the truth the best I can. So, till next time, this is Poofy Man signing off.
Welcome to Dallas, the home of the killers. Welcome to Dallas, the sharks and gorillas. The girls, they going harder than. Welcome to Dallas, we love some legends.